Welcome everyone to the next episode of Purposely. It's been a while. I've had a bit of a break. I had podcast fatigue, but I'm so excited to introduce you to you today, my next guest from Mamawest. So introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Emily. My name is Sheridan Rose Shaw, and I'm the creative director of Mamawest, which is Melbourne's first hair salon slash co-working space, which is the home for 6 women-led business. And our philosophy is life's too short for shit hair.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And there's a lot of people who've got shit hair at the moment because they're trying to do it themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Down, but what an amazing concept. Like it's really cool. When I heard about it, I was like, that sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you decided to start Mamawest, and how do you explain to people, when you go to a barbecue or something, what you actually do? I mean, if you were allowed to go to a barbecue, like imagine being able to just be normal. But anyway, how do you introduce yourself? Because it's a pretty cool, different concept, and it's, on the face value, it's like, oh, I'm a hairdresser and I own a hairdressing salon, but you're doing a lot more than that.
Yeah, we're in a very unique position here, and it is definitely a good conversation starter and just leading into the co-working space. And yeah, it's hard sometimes talking about it because I am predominantly a hairdresser, though I never wanted just a hair salon. My philosophy and values are to collaborate and to connect with the community. And Mamawest is a community within a community, but we also have a community within Mamawest that are able to support other women in business. And we've got our own, co-working network group, and we are able to, reach a wider audience and support each other through a really dark time to stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, it's full on to be in your industry at the moment. The last 2 years must have been really, really difficult. So how have you coped during that time? It must be really isolating.
Yeah, and I mean, business is isolating, right? Like it can be so incredibly lonely. And before I had Mamawest, I was a sole trader and I worked solely on my own. I had my own business for 4 years. So there has been parts of it that have been horrific because I now have, a liability. I'm now responsible for a team of women. I'm also responsible to keep these premises open and alive for the other businesses that have committed to this place as well. I will return.
Absolutely, and I think that's been really important throughout this whole experience, is the businesses and the organisations that have really been committed to continuing to serve their clients in whatever shape or form they could. They're the ones who are going to survive because they've built that kind of rapport and custom, whereas I know a lot of businesses that just kind of freaked out and didn't really know which way to go and didn't pivot or think, oh, well, how else can we do this? And they're absolutely going to die, I guess. It's really sad, but that's the cold hard reality of the world we live in. And it's also like, I think a lot of businesses were trading kind of insolvent before the pandemic, like just living hand to mouth, not really thinking about what they were doing, not having a strategy. And this has really, unfortunately, cut the wheat from the chaff in a lot of ways. But let's go way back when and hear the story, your story, Sheridan's story, because I have a feeling that there's a pretty interesting story behind all of this. So, like, how did you decide to embark on starting your own business? And tell us about, start from the very start, because there's always a story behind the story. Like, even go back to your childhood. It's just always really interesting to hear about the person.
talking like the needs of saying I love you, but like there wasn't food on the table for me. So I learned to steal from my family to survive. I was, whenever I kind of spoke up for myself and, you know, would ask for my needs to be met, I'd be manipulated and kind of given a choice of one of the other. And that was really hard. And I developed some really um, unhelpful limiting beliefs, which really prohibited my development, I suppose. And I went down a really dark path of drugs and alcohol and toxic relationships. And, you know, I was in a long-term relationship with a pedophile because all I wanted was a dad to look after me and a present mum. And I now, so I dabbled in drugs and alcohol while I was, you know, in my apprenticeship, and I got clean at 20 years old. And that's the great, that it was a real turning point for me because it felt like I either had to die or move away, and or instead front up and take responsibility for my life. And I will be celebrating 9 years clean this Friday, so that also has its challenges in the middle of isolation. Though it's my greatest gift to have had the experience of addiction. I now know how to soothe myself. I have parented myself through my own recovery, and I've grown into a woman in recovery and, you know, learned some really hard lessons along the way. So it is my story and I own it wholeheartedly, because if it wasn't for my upbringing, I wouldn't have the resilience I have today. Nothing's been given to me on a silver platter. I've had to really work hard. And I know at the end of the day, I can depend on myself. And that's a big, big gift.
That's amazing, and it's such a common theme that I find with really successful business people in this day and age, is that they have experienced trauma or hardship in their life, and it gives them. And this is something that's they're now doing a lot of research on, because a lot of extreme sports people who win the Red Bull extreme sports have had really horrible upbringings, and they're trying to work out what it is about that upbringing that makes these people be able to do such extraordinary things and take enormous risk. And I look at that in the context of business. Being an entrepreneur and being a business owner is one of the hardest things that you can do, I think, because
Agreed.
it is lonely. It's ups and downs. There's such massive highs and lows. You have to be resilient. You have to fail and fail and fail and deal with so much shit. And if you haven't had that kind of life experience that has given you that, if I get knocked down, I'm just going to get back up again ethos, I think that a lot of people really struggle, and they're now finding that people who are like third and fourth generation wealth have no resilience, and they have really high incidence of mental illness, and they fail in a lot of areas of life. Like they'll fail at school, they'll fail at finding a stable job. Like they really struggle because they haven't experienced any hardship. They've learnt no lessons. So I think it's a really good lesson for us, for our kids, is that you can't just give them everything on a silver platter and protect them from everything. Like we obviously, my upbringing was also not traditional, and I love my parents, but was it normal? I mean, who knows what is normal, but definitely some issues. Like all families, I think all families are fucked up in some way, shape, or form, right?
Absolutely.
But it's just I find that that going through really hard shit helps you define who you are as a person. And people who know who they are as a person, as you said, and have learned the hard lessons of how to rely on themselves, make way better parents. They make way better business owners, and it's really I think admirable for people who can do it. And I just want to say congratulations to you for being clean, because that's a massive achievement. But let's talk a little bit more about Mamawest. So the whole concept of Mamawest is to create a co-working space where you support female business owners. What are some of the challenges that you think are unique to being a female business owner?
Oh, such a good question. Oh, well, I guess the co-working in particular there is a stereotype or an understanding that women aren't always our greatest support. Like there's envy, there's jealousy, there's all kinds of stuff that, is one of the reasons I hated high school. So I guess that would probably be the only thing that comes to mind. Because, let's face it, a person like me has had to work through a lot of my stuff, my childhood trauma and my insecurities. So I think, actually supporting women and wanting the best for women, and not just saying I want the best, but acting like you want the best. I think that would be the number one key here in having a co-working space. Is I have to be a good facilitator. I have to be able to hold space for all of these women, and naturally we will have problems from time to time, but how well can we facilitate a healthy conversation and get through conflict together? Because being in business is one conflict after another, and that's my biggest fear. That's why I used, that's the thing I'd run away from my whole life. And here I am now as a young entrepreneur in a 6 female, led space, and then a team of 4 women. Like, it's learning how to love, be a heart-centered leader, but still have really strong, firm boundaries.
Yeah. And do you find that women really struggle working for themselves and having that belief in themselves? The whole imposter syndrome thing. I hear about it all the time. Like, men seem to be just have this innate confidence to believe that they can do anything, but women really struggle with that. From my experience, I coach a lot of women, I coach a lot of young people, and when I compare men and women, it's like we have this this thing that's been built into us, this sense of doubt, like, oh, but I've never done that before. I can't do that. Who am I to say that I could do that? Or even when people are really good at things, women find it difficult to sell themselves and really be proud of, well, I can do this and I can do that and I've done this, and celebrate their amazingness.
Yeah, I think our brains work very differently to men's, and I'm an overthinker, and I learn by action. So having had the experience and then having had the experience again and again and again, though I think once, like when I came into business, I came up against all that imposter syndrome and am I good enough? Am I worthy? And I charge my worth and all of these things. And then I became an educator. And then it happened all over again because I was educating to a different audience. So I had to overcome these barriers that I think is a part of being a business owner. It's an opportunity to kind of lean into our stuff that is triggered all of the goddamn time. And we can see it, as a conscious human being, I'm very aware of what I'm thinking. And then I get the opportunity to reach out to another woman in business that has been through it all before and say it's normal. But it takes a level of honesty, courage, and vulnerability to reach out and ask for help and get really vulnerable about what's going on in between our ears.
I love that. That's so true. I was listening to a podcast by Kerwin Ray the other day, and he was interviewing this guy talking about high performance. And one of the things that he talked about, which I found really fascinating, was that they run this program where people 10x their business, and the ones that succeed are the ones who really take on working through their shit, because that is really what's holding them back from getting to that next level. It's the self-sabotage,
Yeah.
because we unconsciously self-sabotage ourselves because we want to, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm not good enough, or if we're too controlling, or whatever it is, whatever the issues are that are showing up in your business, it's normally a reflection of you personally, right? The fish rots from the head, and until you're willing to do the work on yourself, you're not going to reach that next level. So how do you recommend that business owners or entrepreneurs really do that? Like what did you do to really like clean out all of that stuff and really get focused on what you needed to focus on?
Well, I wish it was over, Emily, but I'm still working on myself, and it is, it's psychotherapy. I've tried hypnotherapy. I've done hundreds of hours of psychologist work. I do breath work. I do meditation. I do yoga. I'm also in a 12-step fellowship, which supports me. It's another community that I have an outline of work to do on myself and a kind of roadmap to live my life, which is my number one key to living life, because it's incredibly difficult, especially through a lockdown, to stay clean. I understand why people don't stay clean, and I understand why people don't do the work, because it's incredibly uncomfortable. Though what I found is I need to do the things that I want to run away from,
Yes.
because that on the other side of that is the freedom that I've always wanted for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool because one of the things that they believe, or all the research indicates improves resilience, is people who take time to reset and actually take the time to recover.
Yes.
And they were talking about this in this podcast that I was referring to, that people don't stop. People are addicted to action. And I know that we all do this. It's like, oh yeah, because we actually feel good when we're ticking things off our list. And it's like self-medicating by being busy, because that makes us feel good and useful and purposeful. But the people who are really amazing performers actually take the time to stop and recover. But do you find that women in particular find it really hard to do that, particularly mums? Like, what's your experience of that?
Well, I was just about to say, I'm a mother, for goodness sake. Like, when I close the doors of my salon, my real job begins, and that's the hardest part, is there is no mental break. So I have to consciously remove myself from my business and from my family to just get another perspective and to get some space. And that is so hard. Like, I was a chronic codependent partner when I first had my child, and we had to break up for me to really draw a line in the sand. And then we eventually got back together. And that was the beginning for me to relearn how to be in a relationship and look after myself and prioritize myself. And then I brought all of these patterns into business with me. So I put my team before me, I put my clients before me. And it's been this, really humbling experience of starting to see that it is so important for me to prioritize myself. Because if I don't, the business will no longer survive. I could potentially relapse or any of those things. Like, these are the factors that I can now see from having the experience and the pain that comes from doing that kind of behavior as well. There's nothing healthy, or nothing feels good in that space. But when I can look after myself and consciously put in some action to feel better, I feel like a warrior. Like, I'm unstoppable. I'm even better than I thought that I could have been with this people-pleasing codependent pattern,
Yes, the people pleasing. Women are notoriously good at people pleasing, and I mean, I can just relate to everything that you've just said so much, and I think so many people can.
Yes.
It's the guilt, the mother's guilt as well, that we have that as well, that we
So real.
experience from actually prioritizing ourselves and putting ourselves first and taking a break. And like, I've experienced being a business owner and a mum, the judgment of other people. Like, you know, I went to Europe a couple of years ago. It feels like a lifetime ago, for my best mate's 40th, and something just popped up on Facebook today, and I was just reminiscing, going, wow, how cool was that? Like, I actually just went to Europe by myself, left my husband and my son at home. But I felt guilty about it. Like, I felt bad. And then to reinforce that, a number of people said to me, oh, like, geez, how can you live with yourself leaving your son for 2 weeks? Like, what is your husband going to do? And like, these are people who are my friends. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's really hard.
Fuck. But
Yeah.
like, it's just bizarre how we find it so hard to put ourselves first, but men, I think, are very good at it.
So good. So bloody good.
Yeah. Like, my husband, you know, he's basically taught me the art of putting self first, which is good, because
totally.
yeah. So now I push back and I stand my ground, and I've got my boundaries around, well, no, this is my day to have time for me, and we agreed on that, and that's what I'm doing. So bad luck. And that took a while for me to feel comfortable doing that. And I think that it was, you know, quite confronting for him, because he used to kind of walk all over me in a way, which I used to let him do, because I just want to make you happy. And then you turn into a psycho because you're really unhappy, because you feel there's no fairness in the relationship. But, you know, this is just classic behaviors, I think, that so many mums and women who work in business do. But there is so much to be said about time and space to recover. So what's your preference for doing that? Like, tell us how you give some time and space for Sheridan. What does that look like?
Yes. So I completely resonated with the doer. I have the doer syndrome, and I get a lot of joy and a lot of pleasure from doing. And I think that's why this place exists, because I do it before I even think about it. Though that is also my greatest problem. Mamawest grew so quickly, and I hit the ground running, and we're now booked out months in advance, and we really only launched in February. So this lockdown has been, you know, there have been excruciating parts of this lockdown, but I've been recovering from burnout, because I've been learning how to do everything. And then I've just had it all pulled back from me, because I was so identified in it too. So now I think I've just used this time to really look after myself and not put the needs of everyone before myself. And now it's, how do I integrate this back into my life once we go back? And that's being really strict and strong with my boundaries. My partner has actually been primary carer for our son, and because we chose together that I would grow the business and he would look after Junior, which is our son, which has been a really amazing experience. Though I would be terrified to look after him on my own, because I would only do that very rarely. And now, thanks to lockdown, I have this confidence in myself as a mother that really I was just avoiding my own childhood trauma and not being able to be present for him. But now, I guess through breath work and really starting to see the patterns, I'm still learning, you know, it's not perfect, but I've learned, for me, I am way better at taking shorter amounts of time for myself. If it's, you know, a Pilates class or a 20-minute meditation that I have to kind of do daily, not a big chunk of time. Because for me, a big chunk of time is actually more damaging for my mindset.
Interesting. And that's a really good point. I think it's important for everyone to work out what works for them. I'm a massive routine person. I love variety and spontaneity, and like, I'm a bit wild, but I also love my routine. And when I have a really good routine, it just sets me up and creates way better patterns of behavior and mindset. So do you have a particular routine that you follow to keep you focused and, you know, in the right space?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a bit off thanks to lockdown, though it's so funny that we're talking about this because I literally journaled this morning routine, and I wrote it out for
Yeah.
myself because if I don't start the day with myself, I don't end the day with myself. I'm kind of just,
Oh my God, I love that. That is so true. That is so true. So what do you do? What's your routine? Walk us through it.
okay. So at the moment, it's online Pilates. I literally roll out of bed in my pajamas and I get into my body with a 45-minute live class. And
Yep.
then I will meditate for 20 minutes or half an hour, depending on how I'm feeling. I am doing this alignment course at the moment, which is a course understanding your feminine and masculine energy. And I'm high in my masculine, the doer, and I'm learning how to be and trust. And that has taught me how to open up my body with block work and open up my heart, open up my hips where I store a lot of my emotions. And usually that's a pretty good start to my day. I do journal as well, and my coffee is my sanctuary. Like that moment that it just yeah, it starts my day right in that order. And if I skip, like this morning, I went straight to my phone. I went straight for the coffee. I I really struggled so hard to get online and do my movement. Like I was kicking my feet, but then I did it, and then all of a sudden I've got a new energy. I'm showing up for you today, a completely empowered woman because I'm in my body and I can even feel it while I'm talking to you. Like I start to get a little bit nervous and I just go back inside my heart, and then I'm present rather than in here. What's she thinking? What's she feeling? Like what's everyone think? You know what I mean? It's just better to be inside than outside, projecting everything onto everyone.
Absolutely. And I think that's the purpose of the morning routine, or that having a routine for people is really being able to sit with yourself and be present in your body, because we don't do that, and all day we're go 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 go, and if we don't start off on the right foot, and it's what you said when you started, that was like resonated with me so much, because I need to have an hour to myself before
Mm.
everyone gets up. Otherwise, I'm literally a psycho. Like
Yes.
I just get really, really annoyed. And like it's like my husband blinking, I literally want
Yeah.
to fucking kill him. I'm like, can you stop chewing so loud? Like I'm just a psycho, because I just
Yeah.
haven't had the time to just get zen. And I do stretching, and I have a cup of tea, and then I do breath work or meditate, and then I go for a walk for like an hour with my dog.
Nice.
If I don't do those things, I literally just feel cluttered and like really anxious. So
Mm.
it's like, you know, what did you say? How if you don't start your day with yourself, you don't end your day with
End your
yourself.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to use that. It's
Yeah.
such a great analogy. So, what would be your advice to anyone out there, particularly women? Because I think that a lot of them will be resonating with all of the stuff that you've said. If you could just give them one piece of advice about starting a business or being in business, what would it be?
Well, it's funny. I did a live recently and she asked me the same question and I was like, just be your authentic self, be vulnerable. And she's like, yeah, but how? How do you do those things? And I think the more you work on yourself, and that's what happened for me. I got really in touch with my desires. Like I was never, it was never so clear for me. This Mamawest vision was a desire. And because I was so in touch with what I wanted, the fear existed, but I was able, the desire just kind of empowered the fear. And yeah, it was pretty profound. So I think doing the work on yourself, and that might be, with a psychologist, it might be showing up to do a meditation. It might be, I'm going to get in touch with this feminine coaching lady who teaches me how to do my cycle around my work period because my PMS in that week, like I'm unpredictable and I'm terrified about what's going to happen in my team. So I'm trying to find ways and put in action to support myself outside of my business because I am so identified in it. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. Like I want nothing more than it for it to grow. So just learning how to separate the two, I think that would be the most important lesson.
I love it. And I think that it sounds like that is about really tapping into your purpose because the whole concept of this podcast is purposely. It's about people being on purpose and finding their unique thing that just sets them on fire, because once you find that, then I feel like everything falls away. And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy or it's just going to fall into your lap, but at least you know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then when it gets difficult, that's the thing that really sustains you.
Yes.
You don't have that, then if it's just about making money or it's just because you want to quit your job in corporate, that's not going to sustain you in the darkest hours of the shitty parts of your business. So I think that's really good advice. But I guess my final question is, how did you really tap into what your purpose was? How did you find out, well, this is what I need to be doing with Mamawest? What was the thing?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately and what is my purpose, and it is really simple. My purpose is to make people feel good. That is my purpose, and it is as simple as that, because for that purpose, I can live that outside of my business. I can make my son feel good. I can make me feel good as well. I can make my partner feel good. I'm just finding ways to add value to others, to be of service, basically. That is my number one purpose in life, is to be of service. So it's not about chasing the dollars. It's about making people feel good and being of service. And that's what lights up my heart and sets my soul on fire. And I think that's why I'm a hairdresser, because it's not about me. It's about getting out of myself. And to be a good hairdresser, you have to be a fucking good listener. Because if someone tells you they want 2 inches off, you give them 2 fucking inches off. Like it's so simple. Like you just have to actually listen, and that's my greatest gift, is I'm a great listener. I'm a great communicator. I've learned to be those things in my life. And people want nothing more than to feel safe, to be heard and to be acknowledged, because they're the things I didn't get growing up. And because I've had that experience of knowing how that feels, I know what it feels fundamentally on a cellular level, what it feels like when someone isn't present. And it's almost harmful, so protecting my energy to people that don't have the capacity, is another skill set that I've kind of learned. So there's so much to say in a very short period of time. I'm loving this whole conversation. It's just so valuable.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. That's really, really cool. So if people want to find out more about what you do, how can they find you? Obviously, you're on Instagram, because I watched one of your really cool hair tutorials on how to curl your hair all the same way, away from your face, hence my
woohoo! Looking amazing. Yes, I guess Instagram is our biggest platform, so you can find us at mamawest_. We also have a website, which is www.mamawest.com.au. And I'm always open to conversation in DMs, regardless of hair. We are so much more than just a hair salon. We are a safe space and I love, like I said, to listen and hold space. My
dogs have been
love it. Keeping it real. I love it.
So embarrassing. Thank you so much. It was such an amazing conversation. I'm sorry it ended with my dog losing it. It's really embarrassing.
I'm here for all of it.
Make sure you check out Sheridan Mamawest. What a legend. Thank you so much. And we will share all of her details when we publish the episode on Spotify. Have a great day.